just before main. So like as your application keeps growing and you use this pattern, you have to keep injecting scripts, but you have to put them in exactly the right place. Oh, sorry to even.
It's okay.
I think that would have been a disaster.
It's okay. Just keep going. I got it.
So this is a table of if this doesn't make sense, stop me. But basically, dates depends on math, and main is a dependency of main. You see what I'm doing here? We kind of depend on and who depends on us. The reason why I show this is that as your application goes like this kind of this table. So this is a problem. This is how everyone used to do it. But the problems are like order matters. So if you have a bunch of scripts on your page, they have to be ordered correctly. And eventually you enter a point where maybe you have a circle of dependencies, and circle of dependencies do happen. That is, a circle of dependencies where one module depends on another module, which also depends on it, which is kind of a weird thing to think about, but it does happen in the wild. So doing it this way, our app is broken because on app.math, but well, this has to do with ordering. If they're ordered incorrectly, dates depends on app.math. But if math was defined after dates, that wouldn't exist yet. So this like dates would be broken, right? I'm not going to show a circle of dependency example because it's kind of it becomes much more difficult when you're doing everything yourself in scripts.
Is that like A depends on B and B depends on C and C depends on A?
Yeah, that could be as well. Didn't even think about that. I'm thinking more like directly where A depends on B and B depends on A.
But that's good.
That's I guess that's a good question. Yeah, circle dependency. I guess that would be a problem as well. Okay, so to solve this problem, there's a guy named James Burke. He wrote Require.js. Before Require.js, he worked for Dojo. I don't know if you remember Dojo, but it was kind of around the early days of the jQuery wars with Moo tools and all that kind of stuff. He worked on the Dojo loader, and then eventually he wrote Require.js. There was curl.js, still.js. There was a bunch of different loaders that they all did most of the same kind of thing. Eventually, a specification was defined called AMD. And this is what an AMD module looks like. It fixes the problems that we saw before with scripts. With AMD, you call a function called define. So you start off by you add your required script to your page, and then you're going to start importing stuff using require. You call define with an array of dependencies. So this is our main.js. It depends on jQuery, math utils, and jQuery date picker. And then this function is a callback function, which gets called when all those modules load. So this happens asynchronously. That's what AMD stands for. Asynchronous module, I don't remember, definition, I think. So yeah, that callback is not called immediately. It's only called after all those dependencies have been resolved and executed. So this was great. This solves a lot of our problems. You don't have to care about order here in all of your modules. Order is taken care of by the module loader. Like it handles all the complexity involved. You just declare your dependencies in each module. And it fixes circular dependencies as well. Like it handles that internally, so you can have modules that depend on other modules that depend on them, and it just kind of works. You don't have to worry about it. There's some problems with AMD loaders that kind of came about. First, they're usually required some amount of configuration. If you ever work on a project with an AMD loader, you wind up having this config file, which is very large. The reason for that is, this is all loading from the browser. If you have dependencies and let's say you have some external dependencies like jQuery and you have underscore, something like that, those are not setting next to the rest of your normal application code, right? You might put them in a lib folder or extern. Everyone likes to put stuff in different places, or maybe use Bower. I don't know if you're familiar with Bower. Using some type of package manager. So anyways, the point is that you have to configure all that. You have to say, hey, jQuery is located over here, which just became troublesome when your application grows. I have to constantly do that. Another problem is that people hate wrapping code. Like AMD depends on you doing this wrapper stuff. People absolutely hate that. I don't know personally. I never had a problem with it, but people don't like that. People didn't use it for that reason alone. So then Node.js. I hope everyone is a little familiar with what Node is. So Node using modules becomes fun with Node. It's because it has such a nice contract that makes everyone knows all modules work the same way. There's like a contract with where you can like depend on everything's just going to work. That probably doesn't make sense, but you write like a small module like this. This is our config module. It depends on FS. That's what this is happening. Requires how you import stuff. We're importing FS, and module.exports is how you define like a function that you're going to export to the rest of the world. So we're exporting this function, and then main.js can just require config, and then it can just use config. So what Node.js did on accident, really, but it wound up encouraging everyone to write very small modules. If you look on NPM, there are so many modules that are like 10 lines of code, and that's it. And like they're a single function that does like some tiny thing. There's some humor in how small some of them are. But that's really cool because you can kind of depend on, well, I just need this one small thing, and you can find it, you know. So that was awesome. So CommonJS is actually, this is Node code, but the format, I call all these module formats, is CommonJS. That's the use of this like require and module.exports. So CommonJS came around. There's a bunch of different, what is best term, bundlers. If you've used Browserify or Webpack or any of those familiar, those are the most popular, but there's like literally dozens of these things. So these are like currently very popular. They're really cool with what they can do. They solve some issues that we've had in the past. There's much less configuration necessary because we depend on NPM. Like you install everything through NPM. NPM, it has an algorithm to it, so we know like where to find stuff. So we don't have to configure jQuery is located here. We know that it's located in Node modules, jQuery, this.jQuery.js. Actually, that's actually the real place. There's no wrapping of code. It's flat, and that's just like an aesthetic thing, but it's a real thing. This presents as well. There's always new problems presented. Because there is no wrapper, it's not asynchronous like AMD is. Wrapper means you have to pre-compile it, which sucks, I think. So that's what all of these do. These are all, you run these like in your local setup in Node, like you call Node, call a script, runs these, and it bundles all of your dependencies into like one file. That means you need build scripts. So, and that's one for hacking. Like if you just learn about a new browser feature, like have you all heard of service workers? Service workers is like this really awesome feature. Like about some new browser feature, like, oh, I just want to like play around with this. Well, I have to make sure I have Node installed, and I got npm install, gulp, and like gulp script, and like set up a watch mode so that when I'm coding, like it's not a huge problem, but just for the sake of hacking, it's kind of not ideal. The other problem, the last problem here is, well, it's not the last problem, but it's a problem, is that all these solutions have to different APIs. Browserify has its own API that, like, if you want to extend it, if you want to configure it, it has its own way to do that. Webpack does as well. If you read Hacker News and like there's a new bundler that comes out that's like way better than all the previous bundlers, well, you have to throw out all the knowledge that you have, start from scratch, and learn this new thing, which can be fun, but it's not ideal. The last thing, this is going to be important later, is that these require is just a function, right? Like you require something, this is how you import stuff in CommonJS. Require is just a function. So that means to all these bundlers, they parse all this stuff statically. So they don't execute your code. So think about this. You have a module and you define, and you're requiring a bunch of stuff. Browserify doesn't execute that code. This is browser code, you know what I mean? So it can't just execute that code to know like what it needs to bundle. So it actually has to parse that file statically, get the string in between the require, and that's what your dependencies are. That's what it knows what to bundle. So if you do stuff like require food plus bar, which is, you can do that in Node just fine, but it doesn't work if you're like bundling for the browser. So why ES modules? Why do we need them? Well, for all these reasons. But mainly for the problem of library authors. It's not so bad if you're just like an end user who's like writing an app or something. You've probably done this a million times. You require, or you've set up your gulp scripts and whatnot, and like you're used to that. It might be fun for you. It's not that big of a deal. But if you write a library that you want to be used by other people, you want it to be used by everyone, right? You don't care that they use Webpack or require or whatever it is that they use. So this is called a UMD. Oh, I can't even do that. This is a UMD wrapper thing, and what this does is skip all the top noise when you get down to this function export speed. This is where your code would go, where your library code would go. The top part like checks to see like what environment it's running in. First it checks to see if it's running inside of an AMD loader. If it's running inside an AMD loader, it's going to call, define with all of your different dependencies and whatnot. Then it's going to check, am I running inside of like a common JS bundler? If I'm running inside of a common JS bundler, I'm going to, what am I going to do? We'll call factory with the exports object. Otherwise, I'm just going to set a global on the browser window. So this is like terrible, but it also creates a situation where if you're writing a library, it's like worth the hassle to have dependencies, because if you have dependencies, your users might have to configure those. You can't make any assumptions on what environment your user is using their code, because it's a wild west. So that's why we need a specification, and luckily it's happening. This is the part where it starts to get a little bit more complex. If you haven't heard of ES6, it's a new version of JavaScript which adds like a crazy amount of new features to it. So a lot of this is like completely new syntax, which is familiar, but it's really awesome actually. So there's two types of syntax. There's the static imports, which I'm referring back to that problem I showed before of CommonJS, where you can't say like require food plus bar. That doesn't work in the static sense. But it also has a way to import stuff dynamically, which is that use case that we saw. So it did in a pretty elegant way. This is how you export stuff. There's a new it's not a function. I don't know what to call it. There's a new thing called export keyword. Yeah, the export keyword. And there's a default keyword, which if we only want to export a single function, like this is our math.js, we're just going to export an add function. We can say export default function, and here's the function definition, and this is our add function, right? So if someone wants to use this module, they just import add from math, and then they can start using that as a function. Cool?
Where'd you find
Add is being named here. The module is named math. This is the module math. You can name it whatever you want to name it.
You can call it cool kid.
Yes.
You put the two numbers in. and that's because it's default.
Because it's default means we're getting the function itself. Now let's say we go back and we change math.js and we're going to add some new functions. Add and subtract now. We've gotten rid of the default. We don't have default anymore. Two named functions. So now when we import these, we can't do import add from math. It doesn't make sense. You do this curly thing, and so we're importing the add and the subtract function from math. So like you only add, you just import just get rid of comma subtract. You can just import add. Yeah, you can import as many or as few named exports as you want. So there's actually a lot of these different ways. I was showing Eric a couple weeks ago, and it's actually kind of confusing. I realized when I talked to you that how confusing it is. There's a very good article that I'll show you guys later that explains all the different permanences there are, but this is the third most common way. Import star as main. This is if you want to import all of them. So we're naming this math, and then we can use math.add, math.subtract. Let's say you had a module with like 20 different functions on it. Well, you don't want to do this, or I would. You could, but I wouldn't want to do that. I would just want to import the entire thing. And the reason why I show this one is because this is called a namespace. That's what we call all of the things that you export. Yeah.
Is this the one that's like closest to CommonJS kind of?
This is
Like var math equals required math, and that top line.
and you'll get everything from
that.
that.
The same way.
Yeah.
It seems more Python-esque.
Yeah.
I mean,
This is-
syntax
yeah.
the same concept between.
There's two different with CommonJS. If you did module.exports equals function, that's a very common thing, and you're only exporting the function and nothing else. This is the parallel. But if you have a module which has like a bunch of different stuff on it, like .foo and exports.bar, then yeah, then the star is the one. It is the parallel there. So what do I mean by imports? What I mean is that modules are parsed for dependencies before they're executed. So think about this. Think about like you're writing your old loader. You have the file. You're not executing the file. You're not just running the file. The browser is actually going to like parse this out, get all the dependencies, and it has to load those dependencies before it can execute it, right? Because you depend on math. You have to load math. You have to execute math before you can actually run the script that depends on it. And this would just not be possible without new syntax for the reason we discussed before. If you have require as a function, you can cat foo plus bar inside of that. Well, that's valid JavaScript. We can't like say you're not allowed to do that anymore. In order to make it possible to statically parse stuff, they had to invent new syntax which allows you to do that. The other type of imports are dynamic imports. And this means that we're going to load a module on demand. And the case here is, let's say you had a very large application, like you worked on an e-commerce website, and the user goes through the home page. And you also have a checkout page, you have like a product page, and you have a user account page. You have a whole bunch of pages. You don't want to load everything up front because that's going to incur like an incredible cost to the user. So you want to like wait till the user clicks on the checkout button, and when they click on the checkout button, then we're going to download the checkout page, code. So that's what we're doing here. We have a page number, and then we're like, we're concatenating page/page number, and we're importing it with system.import.
So page be I don't know what the actually input the number.
Page would be like a string or something. It would be like, it could be called page. Page number could be checkouts or something. But it's going to concat that to the module that we want to import is called page/checkout or something like that.
So it loads that module and then
It returns a promise. I told you guys this was going to be kind of advanced. If you haven't heard of promises, a promise is hopefully you've heard of callbacks at least. Promise is like a better callback, I would say. It's actually an object that you can pass around and stuff, and it has like a well-defined API. So it returns a promise. Basically, you give promise a function. This is new syntax. This is like called an arrow function. It's a kind of a knife. It's a way to do functions that's less verbose. But what this page arrow thing is, it's actually just a function. So that's a callback function that gets called whenever the promise resolves. So here's a couple of possibilities.
Can you go back to
Sure.
what page, the keyword page there?
That is the namespace that's imported. It's the actual value.
That's
So,
the argument.
no, well, yeah, it's an argument to a function. Yes.
It's the argument to the function
Yes.
that you're defining using the page.
Yes.
So then
But the page object
whatever.
itself is going to be the namespace. Remember, we did import star. It's going to be that thing.
So it could have like page dot
function name.
Yes, yes, it's an object. Yeah, it's an object.
And so in normal function syntax, that would be function.
Yes, I should have done normal,
Okay.
but I am speaking at a conference about like advanced or upcoming ES6 stuff, so kind of had to do it that way. This is more cool stuff. I don't know if you heard the const keyword defining constants. Await is an ES7 feature. If you used C#, there's like a async await kind of thing, which basically import default is we're going to return a promise, but you don't have to define a callback. It kind of takes care of that for you in the language. So anyways, this is kind of cool because you can import the default function, the default from jQuery, and that gets you the dollar symbol. Or if you just want jQuery Ajax, you can do the bracket. You can do the what do you call those? The braces, the curly braces to import the entire namespace. Remember, it's important for ES6 to understand the difference between default export and the entire namespace. Cool? Seem fun, maybe? Okay. Let's get on to the loader. So, like, what is a loader? When we talk about a loader, like, what are we talking about? So, a loader is like a system for loading and executing modules. It's a dependency manager because it's the brains of the module system. It's the thing that understands all the modules and knows how to resolve them.
I know he's gonna make it, but I get nervous every time.
I didn't even notice that. It's also a module registry.
I think you got kids running.
So the best way to think about a loader is like it's exactly like a database. So in a database you have keys, and then the keys relate to some values, right? So that's what a loader is. The keys in the loader are like the names of the modules. The values are the namespace. This is the loader specification. It's the what working group loader. This used to be part of ES6. It was going to be part of the ES6 spec, but unfortunately, it's like not close to being done, and the ES6 is almost done, so they didn't want to like hold up ES6 because of this. So it got kicked out. It's now in what WG loader. The what working group is like it's like one of these bodies made up of Google and Mozilla and Microsoft employees. They define all the different browser APIs. There's also W3C, but this is another one. So anyway, it's kind of in a very early stage. But it's mostly the same as the ES6 spec. So that's what I'm talking about the rest of the time. There's a polyfill for the old ES6 spec as well, and that's what Steel.js is built on top of. Okay, so with the loader, we have a couple of interesting things. We have a loader constructor. You know what a constructor object is? It's kind of like a class. So a loader constructor is used to create new loaders. This is cool because this means that you can create your own and you can define all the behavior for loading stuff. But that's not really what you want most of the time. And the loader, if you say new loader, it doesn't really do anything. It does almost nothing. You call its functions and it throws an exception because they haven't been defined. So it doesn't really make sense, but if you wanted to have like some special loader, like we're talking about loading JavaScript, you can create a loader for loading fonts or something like that if you wanted to, and that would have like kind of different behavior perhaps. So the system loader is an instance of a loader. It's the default loader that comes with the browser. It's the one that has all of the default behavior. It's the one that you'll encounter most of the time. It loads module tags. If you all seen the module tag, maybe not. It's like a script tag. It's almost exactly like a script tag, but it's way better because scripts, your code inside of a script tag gets hoisted onto the global. Modules do not. I think module, if you all heard of use strict, you ever heard of that strict mode? I think modules are strict by default. They're always strict, one or two. And you can like import stuff within a module. You can't import stuff within a script. So the system loader is what will actually. The cool thing is you can ignore it. Like I said before, you don't have to use the system loader. You can create your own loader and define all of your own behavior if you really want to do that. But it also can be extended, and that's where it's actually the most powerful. And that's what we're going to show the rest of this time, is how you can extend it. And the way you can extend it is that the loader provides hooks to extend the loading process. So you have to think about modules as like a pipeline. It goes through a series of steps in order to load a module. It starts by like defining like what is the key to, and then where do I find this module? I want to go get the module, manipulate the module source code, and then I'll actually want to like instantiate, actually define, actually execute it. What's cool is all of these are just functions on the loader prototype. You can like mess with them if you want to. So here's some example of the loader pipeline. Getting back to our math example, import math from math. We're going to, inside of a module somewhere, we're importing math. /math, notice that. It's like a module that's like, to your current module. The first step is normalize. Inside of normalize, it takes that /math and it converts it to a mechanical module name. It's the key to our database. And the reason for this is you could have lots of code that imports math. You could have some code that does import math from /math or /math or util/math. They're all naming it something different inside their code, but they're all pointing to the same module. So this is what normalize fixes. Normalize says all of these different names, they all relate to the same thing. They all relate to the same key in our database. So at locate is the next step. At this point, we have a module name, which is util/math. And then we specify the string of like, where is this thing located? The thing's located at example.com/util.js, util/math.js. So that's simple enough to understand. Fetch gets that address, and it actually goes and it fetches the source code. So it does like an AJAX request, basically, to get the source code. Translate's a fun one. Translate source code, and then you can like modify the source code into something else if you want to. So we'll show some examples of how to use all this. Instantiate is the final step. It's where we have like the final source code, and we define our dependencies, and we define a function that when called will get the module's value. We'll get the namespace, right? I think it's always better to show this a couple of times with code now. So we're going to import math from /math. The first step that happens is that the loader's normalize function is called. It's called with the exact string that comes from the import. And then this is the parent module, app/main. This is the module that's importing it. And this is the parent address, just in case like you want to do something weird because it comes from this parent or from this parent. You can do that. Step 2 is we have our module name now. So at this point, you get an object. It's called with an object that has the name. We call this the load object. So locate produces the URL, right? And then we go to fetch. And fetch now has the name and it has the address. And it's going to actually, oh god. It's actually going to get the source code. And then step 4 is we have the name still, right? We have the address, and now we have the source code, which has export function add, blah, 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 right? So translate is, by default, translate is not going to do anything. So translate is something where you want to put a hook on translate to do whatever you want to do.
Is that what you would do, like CoffeeScript or something?
Yeah, I'm going to show that in just a second. Yeah. We'll talk about all the different ways that you can do stuff. And that's like the canonical example is you import CoffeeScript, you translate it, you compile it to JavaScript, and then you do that inside of translate. The last step.
There's a one-to-one translation. You said you compile it to JavaScript.
Yeah, probably, yeah, in this case you would, yeah. Yeah.
So you can have CoffeeScript or TypeScript libraries, and you don't have to do anything on the server.
Yep.
Toss them up there.
Yep, you can do it all in the browser. Instantiate is the last step. We have the name, we have the address, we have the source code. This is the final source code. We've already compiled it if we want to, or done whatever we want. And it produces that object that I showed in the previous slide, which lists, oh, which lists, yeah, this thing, this up has a list, has an array of dependencies, and it has an execute. Remember we talked about how the browser has to statically parse it? Well, this is what it's producing. It's producing a list of dependencies and a function that is actually going to execute the script. So you can do cool stuff with that one as well. So I'm going to go through them all like one more time so that we really understand them. Normalize wants to generate a module ID, a key. We call that an identifier, module identifier. That's the thing that's written in your code. /var. We create a key from that. /var. So what are some examples of how would you use normalize? It's one of the most powerful ones actually, just because you have the opportunity to say, no, you're not looking for math, you're looking for this other thing. You can kind of do some tricky stuff.
Alias modules and stuff.
Yes, that's very true.
Maybe you say, no, really, CoffeeScript is script.
Yeah, I converted from underscore to Lodash. You're familiar with Lodash and underscore? They have the exact same, well, not the exact same, but they have pretty much the same API. I don't want to write all my code to import Lodash. I just like create a map configuration that maps Lodash or underscore to Lodash. So anytime someone imports underscore, they're just going to get it. That's what you do in normalize. Very. Yeah. I don't have enough. I was gonna do like some live. I was gonna do some live coding, but I'll just maybe the easier ones. I'll do some live coding. So this is probably the most complex example. So if this doesn't make sense, let me go through this though. Look here at the bottom. So what we're gonna do here is create a extension that provides conditional loading. I don't know if you ever heard conditional loading, but in this example, we're going to detect if the browser supports request animation frame, which is kind of not super new, but it's a lot of older browsers don't support that. And if they don't, we're going to import wrath because it's something that you can easily polyfill. So we're going to say import wrath ? And then saying is if the browser doesn't support request animation frame, right? So we can enable this with a hook on normalize. So how you create a hook is basically by wrapping. I don't know if you ever like wrapped code, but it's similar to inheritance. But basically, we're just keeping the system normalized. This is a function. We're keeping it in a variable, and we're going to define write it. And then if we want to call the parent, we can do that. If you're new to JavaScript, you probably are not aware of apply all, but they allow you to like change the way you can change the value of this within a function, and you can provide your own arguments. So let's just walk through this. I promise you, this is the most complex example about. First, we're going to get the index of the question mark. We're going to get the index within the string of what the question mark is. If it doesn't have one, if it doesn't have one, it'll be -1 always. Index of something that doesn't exist is always -1. So we're checking that first. So if it doesn't have that, let's skip here. We're just going to call the parent. So basically, we're saying is like what this enables is you can create your own functions which have like a very small amount of functionality in them, and then like you kind of check to see, do I want to do my special code? If I don't, then I'm just going to call the parent. And so you just kind of continuously are calling the parent. So you can define a bunch of different normalize functions, and within each of them, you're just doing one small little thing. Okay, so we're gonna get the index. If we do have an index, we're gonna grab the module name using name.substring, which is our module name is wrath. We're going for request animation frame, and then we're gonna check does window have the feature? In other words, does window.request animation frame? If it does, we're going to return this like special module called nothing. Basically, we're saying do nothing, right? If it does, we're going to call the parent normalize with the module name, which is wrath, and then it's just going to continue on. So the rest of the loader pipeline doesn't know about question mark request animation frame. That doesn't exist anymore. we're saying the actual module name is just RAF. Cool? Make sense?
Quick question, is nothing a key?
No, nothing is gibberish. We're defining nothing up here.
Oh,
So system.set is how you can define a module just on the spot dynamically. And system.newModule just creates an instance of module. I don't know if that's how they named it, but they did. So anyways, this is like an empty module. It's just an empty object. There's nothing in it. It doesn't do anything. So you can define your own modules that way. So this is a cool example of normalize. We're doing conditional loading. Another great example is like aliasing, or it's better known in like views require map configuration. And we talked about an example of doing that. Get out of my way. Okay. Cool. Locate. Okay. So locate is how we determine the URL of the module. We have a module name, which we've defined before, right? RAF in that previous example. And we want to look thing, like where is it located? It's located example.com/foo.bar. That's like this is the default place it's going to be located. So you can overwrite locate as well. Like why do you think you would do that?
There's nobody crossing the street.
Yeah, maybe you want to redirect to a CDN.
Yeah, that's a good example. I have a small example here. Like you could do it as a Bower extension. Like let's say, remember we talked about the problem of configuration where you put all your external dependencies like somewhere else. So we're importing a module called kitten. And all kitten does is display a picture of a kitten. And then we're going to use kitten to like put kitten on the page. But kitten is a third-party library, and it's located within, I don't know if you all have used Bower. So we need to tell it like where kitten is located. So we're just using we're defining an array with Bower components, the name of the module, which is kitten, and then kitten plus.js. And so then we're going to join it with /. So it becomes Bower component /kitten.kitten. Bower component /kitten.kitten.js. And so that becomes the location of the module. So that's like the simple example. Or you might use locate. Locate's not super cool, but it has uses. What's the one that you, Eric? Did you say something about locate? No.
CD.
I have
Oh, someone said CDN. Yeah, that's a good example as well.
You could make a locator that on the page has to use it to type in the code for the module. You can't find it.
You could do
That would be kind of awesome.
that'd be weird. Okay. All right. So yeah, that's okay. Fetch is the next one. Fetch is exactly as it sounds. We have the URL at this point. We actually want to get the source code. So you might do that with like an AJAX request, or you might do that with sockets. So we just want to access the source code. So what's an example? How would you? This dog is playing fetch.
We'll try. All right.
So like, yeah, all of these relate somehow to your number. I'm gonna have to get some better ones. But anyway, like how would you use fetch? Do you think? Any ideas? Well, one cool idea. I'll show the source code of this one. Oh gosh. Let's say for some reason that you wanted to cache your code in like local storage. Are you all familiar with local storage? Local storage is like an object, like a hash table. You can put stuff that the browser remembers what it is. So we can override fetch. We're importing foo, and we can override and like check to see like, is this in local storage? If it's in local storage, well, we can just get it out of local storage, the source code, and so you never have to make a network request, which is nice. And if not, this is where we get into some of our advanced JavaScript stuff. Fetch.call, fetch is a function. You can call it. Basically, you're defining the arguments that are provided in this value. So we're calling the parent fetch with the load. It returns a promise. All these return promises. Source, and we're going to save the source in local storage and then return the source. So do you understand what's happening here? The first user loads the browser. It's not in local storage. We're going to fetch it, save it, and then the next time they load it, it's already in local storage. And from then on, it's always going to be there. So it's a way to do caching. So that's like one thing you might do with fetch. Even though there's much better ways to do caching, I wouldn't actually do that in real life.
Okay, when you call up this video, do you tell it what type of video it is and to initiate the player or anything?
That's just a GIF.
Okay.
Okay. Translate is source to source. You have some source code, and you want to translate it into more source code. A transformer. It's close to translate. Yeah, like wouldn't you? I mean, you already said CoffeeScript. Any language that compiles a job, as long as the compiler can run in the browser, which some of them can't. But as long as the compiler can run in the browser, you can use that. You know, you just within your extension, you and then maybe you check. Because remember, you always get that load object. That load object has the module name and it has the module address. So you might check is the name like foo.coffee. And if it ends with .coffee, we're going to run the CoffeeScript compiler and translate that to Java.
In kind of a wild example, you could sources at this point just a string. You could
Do whatever
you want.
Yes.
You could search and replace.
You're like, I'm going to remove the add function from your math. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
You can make all the keywords be like.
Yeah.
Or you could change all the 32-bit arrays to 64-bit arrays.
Yeah.
Because you need.
Okay, so at this point we have the final source. We want to provide the value from the module. By value for the module, I mean the name. Remember how we talked about namespaces? So we have to define the module's dependencies because module loader has to know to load all of those before we execute the script. And then finally, we define that execute function, and that execute function is what actually gets the value. It's called after the dependencies have been imported. I do have an example of this one. This one's pretty simple. So this one's like one of the more complex things. And you can do, it's one of the more powerful as well. But it's not so easy to like think. It's more of like if you have some pretty advanced needs. One example is JSON. Like say you want to JSON, I'm going to import a package.json file. Like you can't do that normally. JSON's not JavaScript. I mean, it's not going to work, right? So you can actually do this as a translate way, but another way is with instantiate. So like all the others, we just wrap it. So we're wrapping instantiate. We're defining our own system.instantiate. We get the load object, and then we get the source code, which right. So it's going to look like this, right? It's going to be names and keys. Then we return an object, and the object has a key called deps, which is the dependencies, and it's an array. In this case, we don't have any dependencies, just a JSON. And then we define an execute function. The function is going to get called, and we're going to parse the source string, right? Which it's going to turn this data. It's going to be an object, and then we can call system.newModule. We saw that one before, but it creates a module instance with that data. You always have to return a module basically. So yeah, that's simply now we can system.import package.json, and we can console.log it, and we get all of the JSON. Because sometimes you want to put configuration in a JSON file. It's like a common thing to do. So that'd be a great way to do a Steal. And Steal's based off another loader called System.js. Heard of that one. But Steal enables you to load AMD modules and CommonJS modules as well. And those are based on instantiate hooks. They're like really complicated instantiate hooks, basically. So those are the hooks. Oh, that's terrible. That's good. Yeah, that's it. That's the end. I don't have anything more to say. Yeah, hopefully, like you can understand, like how when all is in the browser, you're going to be able to, you like come across a situation where you need to do something like I want to load this polyfill, but I only want to do it if it's not supported by the browser. I'm going to write my own normalized hook, which takes care of that. So hopefully, you'll.
Instead of like using modernizer, you can just write one little thing.
Yeah, that's the really powerful thing about it. I think is that you just write these very small functions that like just take care of one scenario. They just like check for that question mark, and if the question mark isn't there, well, they just call the parent. So you just wrap normalize like 20 times if you want to. Maybe it's not good for performance. I don't know, but you just continuously do these small things. So, anyways, thanks for having me, everyone. Yeah,
So you said like some of it's in ES6, but some of it's not ES6. Like now that we've seen code, like what parts are there and what parts aren't there, and then what do we have to like get some other library to make it actually all work?
Yeah, the code, the syntax part. Remember we talked about the import export. That part is in ES6 already.
So you can write that in ES6 and run it in something that has ES6 support.
No, because there's no loader spec. If there's no loader spec, you can't load it.
I mean, what does it do?
Huh?
What does it do when you run it?
Nothing supports it. Well, ES6 has like 1,000 features, so nothing supports all of ES6. Everything just supports some parts of it. So a lot of like remember we saw let and const and arrow functions. Like some browser, well, I think Firefox supports arrow functions, for example, but it doesn't support import export. So import export will not happen until the loader spec's done.
It'll give you a syntax error.
Yeah, yeah, sure, I guess so.
But so where can you use this stuff?
Good question. So the ES6, well, there's a Babel and what's the other one, Tracer. They both compile. They'll compile import stuff to like AMD, so you can do that. That's one example. And like Webpack, you can like use Webpack to bundle it or something like that. Like you can run it through Babel to AMD, use Webpack. There's the ES6 module polyfill, which actually does all this in the browser. You can use that. Still.js, which is what I use, is based off of that, so you can use ES6 stuff in Still.js. There's a lot of extra cool features. I'm not going to talk about those tonight, but they all come back. And
That's all like the Still.js stuff. Is that on like you want to build stuff?
No, you don't have to run build stuff for that. You can do that in the browser.
And you get the yes.
You get the ES6 syntax. You get support for CommonJS. You get support for AMD. You can use ENPM because it knows the NPM algorithm, and use Bow. It has hot module swapping. I don't know if you've heard of that, which is kind of a cool feature. It allows you to like. You can run your, you can like load it in your browser, then start modifying code, and it'll just swap the module that got modified without refreshing the browser. So yeah, we've added some cool stuff there. There's several different ways you can use it, but all of it involves like it has to compile this to ES5 because no works yet, which sucks. Node won't support it for the same reason.
Are they going to?
Well, that's a good question. We don't know the answer to that. Part of the reason why ES6 why it was kind of behind is because there was like disagreement with the Node community. The default thing that I showed you, export default, that didn't exist at first, and because it's such a common pattern in Node to like just export it, they needed to have some type of parallel for that scenario, which is why default came in, which is I think it's a good feature. But yeah, there was some agreement. So we don't know what's going to happen with Node. It's being defined by what working group, which is like a browser group. But it will, I would say, Node, it doesn't, the problem with, everyone can't just start implementing it themselves, because if they do, there's some differences, right? So your code will like an important thing in the spec is like the execution that stuff gets executed. So if everyone just kind of like makes it up themselves, like you're going to have a nightmare. in the browser. But maybe it doesn't matter as much as Node. In Node, maybe Node can just do it themselves. They don't have any competition really, so maybe it doesn't matter as much. I don't know.
In Node, when you require something, whatever you export, that's what you're going to get. If you export a function, you're going to require a function. If you export an object, you get an object, a string, whatever. Say that you're kind of suggesting that in ES6 modules, you can't do that. That's why they needed to add a default.
So Node has like a single export. Like you can export only one thing. Like you export a function and you import, you get that function and nothing else. But ES6 is based off of the idea of namespaces. So it's really just an object. Default is actually just a special, it's actually still a namespace. It just has a special default name as well.
Is a namespace something different than an object?
No, a namespace just, yeah, it's just a plain, it's a module instance in reality. Yeah. But yeah, when you import it, you're going to get an object essentially. But when you do import math from math, you're getting the default export, which that enables you to like get a single function. It enables that scenario, right? But yeah, in reality, it doesn't have a single export like Node does.
I have another question. What's the default behavior of normal classes?
Default behavior would be, well, in the old spec I showed you, it would all, well, it's not true. I think at one point it always append .js to it. It always assumed that it's a JavaScript. It doesn't do that anymore. The default is like if it's a relative path,
right?
It like gets rid of that.
But how does it know relative to what? Relative to the main?
Relative, yes.
So it gets the path, whatever main is.
Well, not actually. It's called there's the old AMD created this thing called like a name normal. So it's actually normalized by the name, not by the address. So that's still debatable about what will happen there.
It's cool.
You
know, I think CommonJS is like a lot like simpler and like easier to understand than this because there's like 600 keywords and like classes and stuff to JavaScript to make this work. But I'm like, in the end, I'm glad they have something. You know?
Yeah, they're definitely covering like every possible case, every possible use case is why that happens. But they needed a new syntax for the reason we discussed before. It's because you can't take normal functions because you can't parse that static. You can't statically parse that.
So you can't block.
Yeah, you can't block on it, right? Exactly.
So this might be really early for the spec, but what about situations where you're not in the browser? Say you've got an embedded system.
Embedded system that runs Node or something?
It runs Node or IOJS or something like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're gonna implement something like a loader.
Okay.
Yeah, it's gonna happen.
Okay.
But CommonJS already exists, right?
CommonJS already exists. Yeah, you should use that. In Node, it doesn't. It's not. That's one of the things. Is like the Node guys are like, well, we don't care about this. Like all that you have in the browser, you don't really have in Node because you have access to the file system. You can just import something. You can just require when you actually require something synchronously, right? You can't do that in the browser. Like that's a big no.
What if you require something and it's not available for whatever reason, like you're not hooked up to the internet, or the file or folder you're looking for doesn't exist, you simply can't find it?
So that's like you could do that if we're going back to the loader stuff. You could do that in a fetch hook as a promise. So you could like get the error condition where if like you can't get it for some reason, you can catch the error and then you could do whatever you want with that if you wanted to. So yeah, I mean if it can't load the module, it can't load the module. The page won't load.
If you load the same, if you load the same module in two different places and it's a module state, like in CommonJS, you can the state of the module can change and then be different when you load it again. Is that the way it works?
So that yeah.
Did that question make sense?
Yes, it made a lot of sense. So that's what normalized fixes is like. Do different places, it normalizes to a single module name, a single key, you're only going to import one instance of that module.
So if you look, that's, yeah, so in Node, if you load one function, if you load one module, and then call that module, and it changes a number inside the module, inside the actual object.
Yes.
If
I
you
see.
reload the module someplace else, you don't actually reload it, you just get the same.
Yeah, it's the same way here, yeah.
Is it off the key or the location?
Key.
Off the key. So because you can override the locate function, you could have foo /bar.js from an HTTP and an HTTPS. They can be two different things, and you can load them.
Module, it's only going to ever import one time. So if you import it and you have a locate hook which gets it from key, you import it again, it's not going to get to the locate hook. It's already been imported. So locate is only going to happen the first time it's imported.
Okay, so it's going to skip that. So you can't say, well, if it's after 4 o'clock, I want you to get food bar from.
As long as you can, yeah, sure, but as long as the browser is loaded after 4 o'clock.
After 4 o'clock,
yeah.
okay. But the first time you get it, it's going to go by the key.
You only get a module once, but that's important. That's what he was talking about. But normalize will happen every single time, which is kind of the cool thing because you're always normal because you need to determine the key, right? Before you can get something from the database, you have to know what the ID is. So it always runs through normalize, so you can do cool stuff there.
So in normalize, you could say if it's after 4 p.m.
Yeah. Now it's something different, and you can load that. Yeah.
Right.
When is the ES6 supposed to be?
ES6 is supposed to be
Projected date.
I don't know the exact date. It's supposed to be this year, but who knows? It's always way later than
I feel like I've been hearing it's almost here for a long time.
And then when it's here, we can't reliably use it for 5 years.
So once ES6 is here, it's fine, and then all the browsers and everyone implements ES6 all the way. It's like, in a million years gonna happen.
Yeah.
There's no module loader still.
That's
that's
what I don't
know. We have to wait till ES7 to use any of this, or like.
Well, you can use all the other stuff is going to ship, right?
But you can't use any of it because you can't load any modules. So what's the point?
No, you can't. All the stuff will be supportable by normal scripts, or you can eval it. So you won't be able to use the import stuff, but you'll be able to use. Maybe I'm missing.
That's everything, isn't it?
No, ES6. No, ES6 will have like the arrow functions and stuff.
Oh yeah, no.
That will work.
Modules, like, can you use any part of modules at all? Is it like
you won't be able to use any part of modules. Not without transpiling it. Not without transpiling it.
So is it going to be you're still using Webpack or Browserify or something?
Yeah, until they actually have the loader spec. Yeah.
But
And that's ES7, right?
No, it's not.
No,
It's not really part. It's not part of the ES6. That's why they removed it, because they didn't want it to slow down ES6. So it's going to be defined by the in the WebWG. So whenever they finish
some
it,
future spec. It's not ES6.
yeah, it's not ES.
So it's like even longer past after ES6 is already working.
But that's a
So
API that you're not.
But yeah,
It's an under the hood API, right?
Well, so you need to like.
it has to be. Yeah, it has to be there. The import
You
stuff.
never load anything, doesn't it?
It has to be there for the browsers too.
So the good thing is like they've been debating all this stuff for like 2 years or something. So even though it's not done, like they know more or less, they know mostly what it's going to look like. So they're already starting to implement it. They just can't release it.
I mean, like they can make import and export Word. You just can't change any of the loader stuff.
They can implement most of the loader because they've been debating it for 2 years and they know more or less what it's going to look like. It's not going to change radically. So that's the it's a shitty situation, but that's like the I don't know what's the expression, but silver lining, I guess. The silver lining is that when it is done, it won't be another year before it's actually released.
So does this doesn't necessarily fix the problem that the compilers fix, because you still have to do all the compilers not the right way, the concatenators, because you still have to do all
The bundlers,
the bundlers, right? You still have to do all those requests. But it gives us a common spec to work with too.
Yeah, there's some other solutions. I think the problem you're thinking about is like if I'm loading 50 modules, that's a lot. Which I think in development that's fine. Who gives a shit, right?
I mean, the browser was really fast.
Yeah, you're working in a local host, it's gonna be fine. But yeah, I mean, when you release your stuff to production, you're still gonna have to probably bundle it for a while at least. There's a thing called, I've heard of HTTP 2, right? Yeah, HTTP 2. It has this thing called, we're getting off into areas that I'm not.
Server push or something, right?
Yeah, there's a way to like, basically when you request a page, it's gonna send all the different JavaScript like kind of as a bundle, not really as a bundle, but it's gonna bring them all together with you. So you'll have to have something like knows the homepage needs these 12 modules, and it sends them with the request.
You can have a server like run the module loader, parse out all the dependencies, and then just push all those down.
Yeah,
so you request one, you get all of them.
Yeah, exactly. You want to have something that knows, like, we call it the dependency graph, which is like the graph of all the modules and all their dependencies and all their dependencies, whatever. So you want to have something on the server that knows that, and then it will know like which to take with its specific page. So but that's that's gonna happen.
The browser file.
Yeah, I use that.
You use the browserify server option. It's like that. There's a way to have the server that serves up your JavaScript actually browserify on the fly.
Yeah.
I use it. There's some with the file system, I'm sure that you use it for the same thing.
But with the server thing, doesn't you have to like, it has to be tied to like a specific like project, right?
I've never used it. That's what I was gonna. It sounds kind of magical. It sounds like what you're talking about.
Well, it doesn't do it particularly on fly. Like you have to say like you have to run it for like each of your projects. So like you won't be able to just run one of them. I think on that.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah. But the problem with Browserify is like it doesn't do all that dynamic stuff you're talking about, where like you have a very large application. Like when you create a Browserify bundle, like it bundles everything. Like Webpack has support for dynamic loading, but Browserify doesn't. Depending on which one.
You go to like keep up with the latest.
On this
Yeah.
topic,
The NVM, the Mozilla developer. Something.
yeah, you could. There's a GitHub where the spec is being defined. You could like look at the issues there, but that's most of it's super technical. Have you ever heard of JavaScript Weekly? That's a newsletter you can get where it tells you new JavaScript libraries and stuff and new features. There's an ES Discuss, which is like where a lot of the vendors discuss all the new ES6 stuff. So
It's called JavaScript Weekly.
JavaScript Weekly is that's a newsletter you get. There's also Daily JS, like a blog. Sometimes they'll have ES6 stuff on there as well.
There's some Kick-Ass.js.
Yeah, JS. That one doesn't update.
Oh, really?
Wait, when I was reading it.
So what are you using for your presentation?
This is what is this?
Reveal.
Oh yeah, Reveal.js. Yeah.
Was your code editor in the presentation, or was that a separate? Code
No, that was
editor?
just a window.
Okay, I couldn't tell because it looked like it might have been like a styled thing in the browser.
Yeah, I was
That
gonna
would
do
be
like
cool.
live coding and stuff, but I now realize that would be super.
Have you heard of Code Mirror?
Huh?
Code Mirror?
Yeah,
It's pretty cool.
yeah.
I don't know if it's really.
I just don't want to do that much work
presentation.
presentation to like
It's a lot.
embed code mirror and stuff.
Yeah.
But that's not a bad idea though. All right.
So what tell us a little bit about Toby.
Well, Matobi's like a open source company. Remember CanJS? CanJS is like a library for. Yeah, we do that. We use
You
Skill.
made CanJS.
Yeah,
You gotta just do it. You made it.
Right. I didn't personally.
And how long have you
There's
been
a
there?
difference, right?
Do I? Oh yeah, yes, sure. But I mean, mostly.
He was underselling it.
Subtle. Mostly
Yeah,
consulting.
look at old CanJS.
And what's the conference that you're going to be speaking at?
Future Insights Live.
Okay, so what is
Las
that all
Vegas.
about? When is it?
It's about like upcoming new stuff in web development, like new ES6 stuff like this. Yeah, there's
you said it's
like
in Las
designers
Vegas?
there. Yeah.
When is it?
When?
Yeah.
Like 2 weeks.
2 weeks. What's the website for that? Yeah. Or sorry, give it to everybody.
FutureInsightsLive.com. Oh, whatever.
Cafe Press is blowing up. You're gonna save off some money. Go to
No,
Yeah.
no. I'm
Do it.
just
Good idea.
saying he's gonna be.
Is there a
It's pretty cool.
Wi-Fi?
Yeah, it's Via Studio and the password is unicorn $. Because they're ballers here. So, upcoming events and meetups. This weekend on Sunday is JSLou's meetup, and that's at 2 p.m. And then we're also going to be doing some Warp Zone planning before that at 12. So if you're interested in the game development stuff, come check out JSLou. And then it's at level 1.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, okay. If you go to meetup.com,
1205 East Washington Street.
yeah. If you go to Meetup, you can join the meetup group, and then you'll get all kinds of stuff like directions and everything on the site. Okay. So it's all on meetup.com, and it's called JSLou. And then on Tuesday, Derby Pie is meeting up, and that's at Velocity, Indiana. And then on Thursday is the local Ruby Brigade. So if you're interested in Python stuff, and Tuesday night, and if you're interested in Ruby stuff, Thursday night. And if you need to find any of that stuff, it's all on Meetup. And then also on Twitter, JSLou KY is the Twitter bot for our group. And if you want to, I can have the Twitter bot follow you, and then anything that you talk about that has to do with JavaScript or HTML5, it'll automatically retweet you. So let me know if you're on Twitter. Just send me a message. My Twitter handle is just my full name, Alex Pozeska. And if you can find that on the Meetup page also, and it's on you can find the JSLou Twitter on jslou.org. And then we also have a mailing list that is you can sign, you can ask questions and share information through email with us. Email's the whole group. What's up?
And if you want to present at the next JSLou,
Yeah,
ask
yeah.
Alex, because
Exactly.
we need people to sign up for presentations.
Yeah, so I'm trying to plan I think I might have a speaker lined up for next month, but then maybe after that, I would like to have like 3 lightning talks or smaller talks or less. And if you would like to present at that, or if you'd like to present at a full one like we did tonight, just let me know, and I can get you signed up. And there's also a page on the website that's all about what to expect if you want to be a speaker, and like what everything about the group and how it works and all that.
Who's the person for next month?
Somebody was talking to me on Twitter, and we'll see.
Do you know what the topic is?
Not yet.
Well, I'm not coming.
Okay. Yeah. So follow JSLouKY on Twitter, and as soon as I find out, I'll post on there. That's the best place for info.
Is there a new Ember group that was?
Yeah.
Ember guy?
They haven't had a meeting yet, but he came out and talked about Ember. So that's pretty cool. More JavaScript stuff. No offense to everybody, but my little quote about that is I don't care if they can make 6 more JavaScript groups. It doesn't bother me as long as it's not a .NET. another
How many of
.NET.
those are there? Probably several. Of them.
Well, no, it's not. I mean, the .NET group is cool. It's just that I like the people from it. It's just like the city is really .NET heavy.
Yeah.
We're trying to kind of counteract that with other stuff, like more node jobs would be cool.
Yeah. Cool.
So
What do you need the accountant/lawyer to do?
So, well, for one thing, Eric and I have a little company where we make games, and we just got a little. We started making a little bit of money, not like enough to do that full time or anything, but we started getting a little bit of money, and we need to figure out how to manage that and everything. Yeah, and then also Warp Zone, which is the co-working space that the game dev group wants to start. We need somebody to talk to about forming. We want to maybe form an LLC and then transition it to a 501c3. We don't know how to do that or if we should do that or anything like that. So we want to talk to like a lawyer and an accountant about that, and then also figure out how Warp Zone can receive money from people without getting in trouble for like some way that it can hold money and have like the group be responsible instead of just one person being responsible for it. And we want to. JSLou wants to like as a group we're going to try to get a space like our own space to live out of. Yeah, and it'll also be a co-working space. So we want to do co-working. So if you're a local game developer, you could pay a membership and have a key and everything, kind of like Velocity. And we might do co-working for any kind of web developers or anything too. But it would be like mainly game developer focused. And it also would have a gallery space. And ideally, would have like a place where we could show off games that we're working on and have events there. Like if anybody. And it also would have a gallery space. And ideally, whatever we could show off games that we're working on and have I don't think so. When is that?
No. I just, my neighbor just graduated from has been talking about starting.
Yeah, we were at the Little Arcade Expo.
Some kind.
Yeah, that it's affiliated with
specifically.
at least the cars company. There's every cars company over there. They had a booth there.
Why would you prefer Node over other frameworks?
I like writing JavaScript. It's just kind of like it's nice to have one language for everything from the back end all the way to the front end. So it's yeah, exactly. So it's just kind of fun that way. And NPM has a huge amount of modules that you can. There's tons of them. It recently exceeded the Java thing. What was it called? The Java module thing. Yeah, Maven. It was they had the most modules, and then NPM went further than that recently. So it's kind of nice. And yeah, I mean, I just like working with new technologies. I don't know.
Hey,
What would you rather work with Node than other frameworks? Or either of you. You're both great examples of that. So let's start with you, Bill.
Yeah, what you said. I mean, it's nice to write one language and not worry about it.
Yeah,
that's a big thing. I think that more than anything is that maybe people are a little bit snobby about the ethos that they represent more than I think the language themselves. I think some people we talk to, they're reusing the .NET framework and Java framework for different things now, and people are comfortable with that. Those this ethos that Java represents this corporate enterprise like drone mentality, and .NET represents this beholden Microsoft mentality. I think that's one thing, which is kind of snobby.
It was also very fast. Like executing a node script is done very quickly. So there's always that. Like I don't know if you like Java. Java takes like a second to load Java or something, right? But node executes pretty fast.
Also, the most ubiquitous computing platform in the world is the browser, and they all run JavaScript.
Every
And so
computer in the world is on JavaScript.
Yeah.
some copiers and now servers.
I was like, mostly talking about the frameworks, like why Node, like over.
Node's not a framework. Node's just the runtime.
Node is just a way to run JavaScript on the server side. So you run.
So it's like comparable to PHP, not like whatever the PHP.
whatever.
Express is a framework.
Or Express or Happy. Is that I've heard of that too? Is that what that is? Sales, yeah, that one.
I think so.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's all they needed.
My neighbor, 2 doors down, freshly minted attorney who will not necessarily gain. I'm not sure that he has a different focus, but it's the interest that he has. So
talking to people about it would be good. Yeah.
It strikes me, there's a church there across from Highland, across from your old coffee shop, Dave's Coffee Shop.
Mhm.
That church just, it's not, I already heard people banking around the idea that they're looking for
So there's a couple in Louisville, co-working spaces?
the church is a co-working space.
There's
Shul.
Yeah.
And
Perfect.
Velocity.
Perfect. We'll call it Shul.
Velocity is technically not in Louisville, but
Is it across the river?
the Velocity is really cool, but nobody wants to go there because it's Indiana. But the people there are pretty cool, and the education program there is really cool.
I'd heard of iHub, but it seemed like the website was never updated, so I was like, does this even exist?
There's a place on Shelby Park now that I go to.
Oh,
Like
where's
so
that?
the
The park.
The park. Okay, I've heard of that.
No,
Is it cool?
On corner of
Yeah, it's,
Hurstbourne and Sugar Road?
no, it's on Shelby Street. Yeah.
Oh, down here.
Yeah, and,
Where is it?
Germantown.
That way.
that,
Oh, yeah, that
so I think she was just, all you have to do is email her. I'd be happy to walk in. Yeah, absolutely. It's a nice space. It's a really nice space.
Who runs that? Is there like a company that runs
Access
that?
Ventures. Butler is on the board of Access Ventures and the board of the Blue Sky Fund, which funds Velocity.
Oh, okay.
And they've already said Velocity's for it and stuff.
I don't say it mostly, but if it's public knowledge now, yeah, it is.
It's going away or going well?
Going away.
Why? It's too expensive for them to operate.
They had 3 years of funding and or whatever, and so it didn't get more funding.
There's no way.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really.
They lowered the price.
It's a co-working space and it's right accelerator and it has some offices.
What's a co-working?
It's a big open room with tables and that.
Pay a monthly fee.
And it's not no wall.
All over town looking at real estate, so we've got a little bit of what's
Cool.
like what's a good price for a certain area.
Okay. When can you do?
I did it as part of my.
It sounds like you got a lot of info, and I didn't think of that. Ask you about that, but is there
Yeah, I know.
sometime when you can hang out, grab some food, and talk about this? Sweet. Okay. Like in the maybe like after we get back from Bloomington.
When are you going to Bloomington?
Friday, Saturday.
Okay.
And then maybe like next week, early next week.
It'd be good.
I like my account a lot.
Okay, good. Okay, let me get.
Same as Jimmy Blanford, but I'll be happy
Yeah.
to connect you.
Do you want to? Can you send me an email? Do you want me to send you one to remind you, or?
I do. He's super awkward, and if you like your accountant, you may want to talk to him. He's an awkward person.
Okay.
Yeah,
I've got a little
it
spreadsheet.
seems like he knows what he's talking about. He's got some stuff going on the side himself, so.
Thanks again.
Hey, thanks for letting me do it. I really
Hopefully I'll
appreciate
see
it.
you. Hopefully I'll see you.
Thanks. You know anything about that?
Yeah, great talk. Great talk.
I wanted to do it,